Gang ghetto. Not gonna belabor the point. Back here with part four, the Moynihan report. Let's get to it. As always, you know how to tap in. You know how to tap in. You know how to tap in. Get to work, man. Moynihan report part four. That's what we here for. Let's go. Part four, the tangle of pathology. The Negro American has survived all its extraordinary. You know what? Let me make this larger to make sure everybody can see this because I don't want no games. I don't want no games. I don't want no games. I hope you are having an amazing one right now. Hope the weather is good where you at. And yeah, man, shout to Stanford.edu. We're gonna pull the report directly from Stanford's website, and if that's not good enough for you, then you know, I don't know what to say because it's very likely you didn't go to Stanford. So I'm trying to figure out how you trying to play like you got better information. But as always, gang, all questions, comments, criticisms, feedback of positive or negative nature is ghettopointofview@gmail.com. His ghettopointofview@gmail.com. His HIS ghetto GHETTO point POINT of OF view. His ghetto point of view@gmail.com. Alright, let's see what I'm gonna present something on the screen. Hope you enjoying your day. Really do. Really do. Let's see how this works. No, silly. No, we're not doing. Okay. Having a bit of a technical difficulty. Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment, please. Alright, let's see what's good with that. I like that. Okay. Having a bit of a technical difficulty. We'll be right back. Yeah, we're about to get into this Moynihan report part four, but before we do, take care of some business. We'll be right back. Yeah, man. We here.
Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
He's in there.
What happened to my... Damn.
Right there. Hey. Yeah. I've been waiting on this day since your little uppity ass came into town.
won't kill me, Air Marshal 50 Cent. You will only die trying.
But I will kill you. Or I'm a dead train.
What?
But I will kill you, or I'm gonna die. Right. All right, chapter 4, the tangle of pathology. We are back in the Moynihan report. Let's get to it. That the Negro American has survived at all, is extraordinary. A lesser people might have simply died out. A lesser people might have simply died out. Mm. And notice they saying Negro American, not black. But I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. A lesser people might have simply swear we was always called black folk, but this clearly says Negro American. Anyway, a lesser people might have simply died out, as indeed others have. That the Negro, because we are a special people chosen by the Most High. That the Negro community has not only survived, but in this political generation has entered national affairs as a moderate, humane, and constructive national force is the highest testament to the healing powers of the democratic ideal and the creative vitality of the Negro people. I think it's more the creative vitality of the Negro people. But we'll keep going. But it may not be supposed that the Negro American community has not paid a fearful price for the incredible mistreatment to which it has been subjected over the past 3 centuries. In essence, the Negro community, has been forced into a matriarchal structure, which, because it is so out of line with the rest of American society. Hold on 1 second, gang. Something don't feel right. I like that. Let's go. In essence, it is so out of line with the rest of American society, seriously, because it is so out of line with the rest of American society, it seriously retards the progress of the group of people as a whole, meaning it regresses the progress and moves it backwards. And imposes a crushing burden on the Negro male, and in consequence on a great many Negro women as well. There is presumably no special reason why a society in which males are dominant in family relationships is it to be preferred to a matriarchal arrangement. However, it is clearly a disadvantage for a minority group to be operating on one principle while the great majority of the population and the one with the most advantages to begin with is operating on another. Let me read that again. There is presumably no special reason why a society in which males are dominant in family relationships is to be preferred to a matriarchal arrangement. Meaning, like, okay, there's no rhyme or reason to why we're in the patriarchal society, but for the quote unquote Negro group to practice a matriarchal society while everyone else, including the people with the most advantages, presumably in society, is practicing a patriarchy, is ruining them. I should have brought this up. Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I didn't bring this up yesterday. There's presumably no special reason why a society in which males are dominant in family relationships is to be preferred in a matriarchal arrangement. However, it is clearly a disadvantage for a minority group to be operating on one principle while the great majority of the population and the one with the most advantages to begin with is operating on another. Meaning, why would you operate on a matriarchy when everyone who you saying has more advantages and is more established is doing a patriarchy? Wouldn't that put you just at a greater disadvantage, Negroes? Trying to be morally upright and all this and that, and you're killing yourself in the process. All right, no problem. Ours is a society which presumes male leadership in private and public affairs. The arrangements of society facilitate such leadership and reward it. A subculture such as that of the Negro American, in which this is not the pattern, is placed at a distinct disadvantage. Let me read that again. A subculture such as that of the Negro American, in which this is not the pattern, is placed at a distinct disadvantage. Meaning, if everyone going left and you decide to go right, you are putting yourself at a distinct disadvantage doing that, trying to practice some type of moral position. You're losing the game for the sake of trying to have some type of righteous statement be made. You're crazy. Here, an earlier word of caution should be repeated. There is much evidence that a considerable number of Negro families have managed to break out of the tangle of pathology and to establish themselves as stable, effective units, living according to patterns of American society in general. E. Franklin Frazier has suggested that the middle-class Negro American family is, if anything, more patriarchal and protective of its children than the general run of such families. E. Franklin Frazier has suggested that the middle-class Negro American family is, if anything, more patriarchal and protective of its children than the general run of such families. Given equal opportunities, the children of these families will perform as well or better than their white peers. Given equal opportunities, the children of these families will perform as well or better than their white peers. They need no help from anyone and ask none. While this phenomenon is not easily measured, one index is that middle-class Negroes have even fewer children than middle-class whites, indicating a desire to conserve the advances they have made and to ensure that their children do as well or better. Negro women who marry early to uneducated laborers have more children than white women in the same situation. Negro women who marry at the common age for the middle class to educated men doing technical or professional work have only 4/5 as many children as their white counterparts. Makes sense because, they would be starting in life a little later. It might be estimated that as much as half of the Negro community falls into the middle class. It might be estimated that as much as half of the Negro community falls into the middle class. They mean Negro men, but I'm gonna leave it alone. However, the remaining half is in desperate and deteriorating circumstances. Moreover, because of housing segregation, redlining only matters to people who want to live around white folks. Let's stop it. Redlining only matters to people who can't just deal amongst their own. Moreover, because of housing segregation, it's so segregated, yet all the Arabs and Chinese want to come open up stores and stuff in the hood, cleaners and bodegas and fast food restaurants and sneaker stores and beauty salons in the hood and beauty shops in the hood and fruit stands in the hood and martial arts dojos in the hood, banks in the hood. But you want to run up out of there. You are idiots. It might be estimated that as much as half of the Negro community falls into the middle class. However, the remaining half is in desperate and deteriorating circumstances. Moreover, because of housing segregation, it is immensely difficult for the stable half to escape from the cultural influences of the unstable one. The children of middle-class Negroes often as not must grow up in or next to the slums, an experience almost unknown to middle-class children. Wow, the children of middle-class Negroes often as not must grow up in or next to the slums, meaning like they live hood adjacent. They are therefore constantly exposed to the pathology of the disturbed group of people and constantly in danger of being drawn into it. It is for this reason that the proposition put forth in this study may be thought of as having a more or less general application. In a word, most Negro youth are in danger of being caught up in the tangle of pathology that affects their world, and probably a majority are so entrapped. Many of those who escape do so for one generation only. As things are now, their children may have to run the gauntlet all over again. Man, that is not the least vicious aspect of the world that the white America has made for the Negro. So I think this would be really a reason to focus on building businesses, because if you work so hard to be middle class and have a job, and then you don't establish anything for your children to hold on to and to run and maintain after you're gone, it's almost like you just hit the reset button on them once you bounce. Obviously, not every instance of social pathology afflicting the Negro community can be traced to the weakness of family structure. If, for example, organized crime in the Negro community were not largely controlled by whites, there would be more capital accumulating among Negroes, and therefore probably more Negro business enterprises. Damn. Said if you're gonna let hustlers hustle, let it be the hustlers that share a reflection. Taking all that, making people do all. Well, you're not making people, but if people are exposed to and doing all of these things, which people could argue are not the best for their health and their sanity, and then the money for that don't even really go to the people in the area, but bits of crumbs and pennies, and the real big piece of the pie leave up out the community. Crazy. If it were not for the hostility and fear many whites exhibit toward Negroes, they in turn would be less afflicted by hostility and fear, and so on. There is no one Negro community. There is no one Negro problem. There is no one solution. Nonetheless, at the center of the tangle of pathology is the weakness of the family structure. Once or twice removed, it will be found to be the principal source of the most of the aberrant and inadequate or antisocial behavior that did not establish but now serves to perpetuate the cycle of poverty and deprivation. It was by destroying the Negro family under slavery that white America broke the will of the Negro people. Although that will has reasserted itself in our time, it is a resurgence doomed to frustration unless the viability of the Negro family is restored. A fundamental fact of the Negro American family life is often reverse roles of the husband and wife. A fundamental fact of Negro American family life is the often reversed roles of husband and wife. Robert O. Blood Jr. and Donald M. Wolfe, in a study of Detroit families, note that Negro husbands have unusually low power. Sheesh. And while this characteristic of all income families, this is characteristic of all low-income families, the pattern pervades the Negro social structure. The cumulative result of discrimination in jobs, the segregated housing, and poor schooling of Negro the cumulative result of discrimination in jobs, the segregated housing, and the poor schooling of Negro men. In 44% of the Negro families studied, the wife was dominant, as against 20% of white wives. That's over twice. It's over double. Whereas the majority of white families are equalitarian. The largest percent of Negro families are dominated by the wife, are egalitarian. I guess it's supposed to be, or equalitarian. Sheesh. Whereas the majority of white families are equalitarian, the largest percent of Negro families are dominated by the wife. The matriarchal pattern of so many Negro families reinforces itself over the generations. This process begins with education. Although the gap appears to be closing at the moment, for a long time, Negro families were better educated than Negro females, were better educated than Negro males. I agree with that. And this remains true today for the Negro population as a whole. Unfortunately, my sisters is trying to revert that education right on back with some of them young men, and that's unfortunate. Educational attainment of the civilian non-institutional population means not in jail, 18 years of age and over, March 1964. So, well, in 1964, most Caucasians completed school. Most non-whites, the males, only went up to about 9th grade, while the females only went up to about the sophomore year. Jeez. And this was back in the 60s. This has not gotten much better, guys. This has not gotten much better. Take a break real quick, gang. We'll be right back.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Yeah, gang. So we continuing on. The difference in educational attainment between non-white men and white and women in the labor force is even greater. Men lag 1.1 years behind women. Wow, men lag. That's interesting. No, it's not. Jesus. The disparity in educational attainment of male and female youth aged 16 to 21 who were out of school in February 1963 is striking among the non-white males. And again, gang, if you remember, they said at the beginning of the report, just consider non-white to be black because that was essentially the group of non-whites in the country at that time. The amount of Hispanic wasn't as significant as it is now. There was some Puerto Rican population coming in, but they said for all intents and purposes, please understand that when they're saying non-white, that's just the black number, and that's just really what it is. This is just how it got categorized. All the other groups are so marginal that they don't really do anything to affect this number. So this is really just the black number. So among non-white, or I'll just say among black males, 66.3% were not high school graduates compared to, or among Negro males, 66.3% were not high school graduates. Among the non-white males, 66, almost 67%. Bro, that's almost 7 in 10 didn't graduate high school, compared with 55% of the females. That's almost 6 in 10. This is crazy. But it's not as much as the males. And you'd argue you need the males to have more education so they can get more training and take care of the families. A similar difference existed at the college level, with 4.5% of the males having completed 1 to 3 years of college compared to 7.3% of the females. Sheesh. The poorer performance of the male in the school exists from the very beginning, and the magnitude of the difference was documented by the 1960 census and statistics on the number of children who have fallen 1 or more grades below the typical grade for children of the same age. The boys have more frequently fallen behind at every age level. The boys have more frequently fallen behind at every age level. White boys also lag behind white girls, but a differential of 1 to 6 percentage points. Sheesh. Percent of non-white youth enrolled in school who are one or more grades below mode or below grade level for age by sex or gender. 1960. 1960, sex and gender was the same thing. Shh. We'll keep going. Age 7 to 9. 7% of the children were below, or the boys were below grade level, whereas 5 points. So about 8% of the boys, 6% of the girls. Age 10 to 13, 25% of the boys and 17% of the girls. Damn, that's 1 in 4. This is 1 in 5, so this is not much better. But gee. 14 to 15, 35.5%. This is almost 4 out of 10 being 1 or more grades below grade level. And 1 in 4 to girls. 16 to 17, 40%, 4 out of 10 non-white or essentially just Negro males between 16 and 17 were not at grade, were 1 or more grades below level in 1960 versus 27% of the females. And that's almost 3 out of 10. This is crazy. 18 and 19, again, 60%, essentially 57.3% below grade level. So now you're talking about trying to get into college, end in high school, fall below grade level. How can you even have a career of academic success when you that far below grade level? In 1960, 39% of all white persons 25 years of age or over who had completed 4 years or more of college were women. 50% of the non-whites who had attained this level were women. That's crazy. In 1960, 40% of all white persons 25 years of age who had completed 4 or more years of college were women. 53% of all non-whites who had attained this level were women. Think about that, guys. 39% versus 53%. So you get 10, this is for Caucasians, white boys in the room, white people in the room, mixed up between men and women. 4 out of 10 of them have completed 4 or more years of college. Excuse me. If you get 10 white college graduates in the room and 10 black college graduates, 4 of the 10 on the white side will be women, whereas 5 or 6 of the 10 on the black side, Negro side, will be women. This is insane. However, the gap is closing. By October 1963, there were slightly more Negro men in college than women. Among whites, there was almost twice as many men as women enrolled. Sheesh. There is much evidence that Negro females are better students than their male counterparts. Is that true, or is it that the way we teach students? Because if we only test based on the way we generally teach students, and we're not taking into account that boys, particularly ones that weren't taught how to sit down, how to study for long periods of time in one stationary position, weren't the ones who that level of discipline wasn't ingrained into. If we just take the standard crop and test them, of course the females are going to do better because they're more accustomed to being able to sit there and take those types of tests. Well, at least they used to be. These things have changed since the 60s, guys. Very much so. We'll get into that. Daniel Thompson of Dillard University, in a private communication on January 9th, 1965, writes, as low as the aspirational level among lower class Negro girls, it is considerably higher among the boys. For example, I have examined the honor rolls in Negro high schools for about 10 years. As a rule, from 75 to 90% of all the Negro honor students are girls. And then we talk about the college population, non-white versus whites in 1963 of October. Sheesh. That's 10 times more, guys. Come on, fam. Number enrolled. Percent of youth age 14. Look at that. This is where you can get the reports. U.S. Bureau of Census, current population reports. Dr. Thompson reports that 70% of all applications for the National Achievement Scholarship Program financed by the Ford Foundation for outstanding Negro high school graduates are girls, despite special efforts by high school principals to submit the names of boys. The finalists for this new program for outstanding Negro students were recently announced. Based on an inspection of the names, only about 43% of all the 639 were male. It's not bad though. However, the regular National Merit Scholarship Program males received 67%. Now you see, this is the problem. It's this disparity in how much collegiate and academic success other groups are having outside of this one, and how it sets this group up to be subservient to the other groups, to be dominated by the other groups. Inevitably, these disparities have carried over to the area of employment and income, of course. In 1 out of 4 Negro families where the husband is present is an earner and someone else in the family works, the husband is not the principal earner. The comparable figure for whites is 18%. Sucks, man. More important, it is clear that you see when you have numbers like this going on in our family, it's no wonder why we trying to have conversations about men. Will you let a man who's earning less than you, run the house? And yes, he should in proxy, but there's also a part that, damn, like, what if we just fix this so we wouldn't have to worry about having that conversation? What if we just fix this so we don't have to worry about having that conversation as much? Get to the root of the issue instead of just hacking away at it's like a bonsai, just trimming away at the hedges and the bush to beautify it, but we're not really digging down into what is causing it to grow that way and be that way in the first place. More important, it is clear that the Negro females have established a strong position for themselves in white-collar and professional employment, precisely the areas of economy which are growing most rapidly, into which the highest prestige is accorded. The President's Committee on Equal Employment Opportunity, making a preliminary report on employment in 1964 of over 16,000 companies with nearly 5 million employees, revealed this pattern with dramatic emphasis. In this workforce, Negro males outnumber Negro females by a ratio of 4-1, yet Negro males represent only 1.2% of all males in white-collar. You can't make this shit up. So even though in the workforce, Negro males outnumber Negro females 4-1, when you go to white-collar positions, Negro males at this time was only making up 1.2% of white-collar occupations, while Negro females represent 3.1% of the total female white-collar workforce. This is crazy. I want to see what this is now. Hold on 1 second. HBR.org from 2018. Why aren't Black employees getting more white-collar jobs? Let's see what this says. The numbers. Detailed analysis of employment numbers can help us understand racial and gender income equality in America. A review of white-collar employment data from the U.S. Employment Opportunity Commission reveals serious gaps in income, promotion, advancement rate. Let me see. I'm going to skip down a little bit, gang. The Ascend Foundation analysis shows that white men with an EPI of 1.81 are by far the most represented group in management, executive Parity is a ratio of 1.0. Following them are Hispanic men at 1.07. Damn, that's a huge drop off. White women at 0.65, black men at 0.63, Asian men at 0.56, Hispanic men at 0.49, and black women at 0.30, and Asian women at 0.24. The EPI numbers are bleak for many of these groups, clearly, but in this article, I'm most concerned with black men and women. So if it was parity, meaning that there would be executive parity, meaning be even amount of executives of all these different cultures and nationalities working evenly amongst, it's 1.81% Caucasian men. A national review of 2015 data on white collar employment shows white men are 61.3% of executives nationally and 81% above parity when compared to their 33.8% representation in non-management professionals. In 1967, African American median household income was 55% that of whites. In 2016, the number was 61%. Black men and women still represent a very low percentage of professional white-collar workforce, less than 8% given their total representation in the population. Let's see. Oh, this is 2014. Not that far. 2018. Let's see. Past year. Labor force statistics from the current population. Bureau Labor Statistics.gov. 16 and over. Let's see. Management, professional and related occupations. Management occupations. Total employed 7,275 as of 2023. Men 51, white women 76.9. Total black or African 10.6%. Jeez. Total Asian 9.3%. Hispanic or Latino 11.2%. So the total black is 10.6% in these positions. Oh man, that is unfortunate. Sheesh. But when it comes to first line supervisors or security workers, Jesus, 31.6%. Jesus. But only 5% of first line supervisors of firefighting and prevention workers. Jeez. This is very unfortunate, guys. We gotta figure out how we rebalance this. We gotta figure out how we rebalance this, because if we don't, it's never gonna fix the problem. We're never gonna fix the problems. Never gonna fix the problems. We're gonna fix this. Oh man. So Negroes represent 1.2% of males, so now it's about 10%. So I mean, it's definitely grown. So, oh man, it would appear, therefore, I'm jumping down to the end of the report right here, guys. It would appear, therefore, that there are proportionally 4 times as many Negro families and significant white collar jobs as Negro females, and white collar jobs as Negro males. Ah, interesting. Mm-mm-mm. Very interesting, guys. All right, we're gonna keep going. So, department, although it is evident that office and clerical jobs account for approximately 50% of all Negro female white collar workers, it is significant that 6 out of every 100 Negro females are in professional jobs. That is substantially similar to the rate of all females in such jobs. Approximately 7 out of every 100 Negro females are in technician jobs. That's what's up. This exceeds the proportion of all females in technician jobs, approximately 5 out of every 6. Negro females in skilled jobs are almost the same as that of all females in such jobs. 9 out of every 100 Negro males are in skilled occupations, while 21 out of 100 males of all males are in such jobs. So while 20% of all males are in such jobs back then, only 9% of Negro males are. Let's keep going. This pattern is to be seen in the federal government, where special efforts have been made recently to ensure equal employment opportunities for Negroes. These efforts have been notably successful in departments such as labor, where some 90% of employees are now Negro. However, it may well be that these efforts have rounded mostly to benefit the Negro woman, or redounded mostly, and may ever have accentuated the comparative disadvantage of Negro men. 70% of the Negro employees of the Department of Labor are women. 70%, as contrast with only 42% of the white employees. Damn. Among non-professional labor department employees, where the most employment opportunities exist for all groups, Negro women outnumber Negro men 4-1 and average almost 1 grade higher in classification. The testimony to the effects of these patterns in Negro family structure is widespread and hardly to be doubted. Oh man, historically in matriarchal Negro society, mothers made sure that if one of their children had a chance for higher education, the daughter was the one to pursue it. Damn. The effect on family functioning and role. Let me read that again. Historically, in the matriarchal Negro society, mothers made sure that if one of their children had a chance for higher education, the daughter was the one to pursue it. Now, why would you do that? If you want men to be able to lead, why would you do that? So they're not getting skills, they're not getting higher education, and then they being told they're not good for nothing. You can't make this up. The effect on family functioning and role performance of this historical experience, aka economic deprivation, is what you might predict. As both as a husband and as a father, the Negro male is made to feel inadequate, not because he is unlovable or unaffectionate, lacks intelligence, or even a gray flannel suit, but in a society that measures the man by the size of his paycheck, he doesn't stand very tall in comparison with his white counterpart. To this situation, he may react with withdrawal, bitterness towards society, aggression both within the family and racial group, self-hatred, or crime. Or he may escape through a number of avenues that may help him to lose himself in fantasy, or to compensate for his low status through a variety of exploits. Playing video games, getting drunk all the time, being promiscuous, anything to escape that feeling, hitting the strip club, anything to escape that feeling, busting some CeeLo, like shooting craps, anything to escape that feeling, gambling all the time, anything to escape that feeling, watching the game all the time, like compensate for his low status through a variety of exploits. It's like when we was watching The Vanishing Black Family, and that psychologist from Duke. Oh no, the psychologist from the HBCU, Dr. Jackson. He said that the men were hypersexual because it was the only badge of honor they ever expect to gain. Yeah. What are we doing? Oh my God. I'm gonna read this again. To this situation, he may react with withdrawal, bitterness towards society, aggression both within the family and racial group, self-hatred, or crime. Or he may escape through a number of avenues that help him to lose himself in fantasy, or to compensate for his low status through a variety of exploits. Playing on them old basketball team. Oh man. Thomas. The Negro wife in this situation can easily become disgusted with her financially dependent husband, and her rejection of him further alienates the male from family life. Embittered by their experiences with men, many Negro mothers often act to perpetuate the mother-centered pattern by taking a greater interest in their daughters than their sons. Embittered by their experiences with men, many Negro mothers often act to perpetuate the mother-centered pattern by taking a greater interest in their daughters than their sons. I'm gonna make sure my daughter get this education, because you ain't gonna be able to play with her. But in the meanwhile, we leaving the little dudes to linger. Man. In a matriarchal structure, the women are transmitting the culture. If the Negro woman, Dorothy Height, if the Negro woman has a majorly underlying concern, it is the status of the Negro man and his position in the family and his need for feeling himself an important person, free and able to make his contribution to the whole society in order that he may strengthen his home. Duncan M. McIntyre. I'll read these. It might be important to know who these people are making these quotes. The Negro illegitimacy rate always has been high, about 8 times the white rate in 1940, and somewhat higher today, even though the white illegitimacy rate is also climbing. The Negro statistics are symptomatic of some old socioeconomic problems, not the least of which are underemployment among Negro men and compensating higher labor force propensity among Negro women. Both operate to enlarge the mother's role, undercutting the status of the male and making many Negro families essentially matriarchal. The Negro man's uncertain employment prospects, matriarchy, and the high cost of divorces combine. Oh, so let me read that again for those people who kept trying to say that Negroes back then had these super consistent jobs. The Negro man's uncertain employment prospects, matriarchy, and high cost of divorces combine to encourage desertion. The poor man's divorce encourage desertion, increases the number of couples not married, and thereby also increases the Negro illegitimacy rate. In the meantime, higher Negro birth rates are increasing the non-white population, while migration into cities like Detroit, New York, Philly, and Washington, D.C. is making public assistant roles in such cities heavily, even predominantly Negro. Robin M. Williams Jr. in a study of Elmira, New York. Only 57% of Negro adults reported themselves as married. Spouse present as compared, married, spouse present as opposed to living to separated, as compared with 78% of native white American Gentiles. We called them the Gentiles, Jesus. 91% of the Italian American and 96% of Jewish informants. 96% of Jewish people were living married with spouse present. 91% of the Italian Americans were living married, spouse present. And these wife beaters, damn. Jeez. 78% of native whites, so that's almost 80%, were married with spouse present, not married and separated, any of that. Jesus. Of the 93 married Negro youths interviewed, 22% did not have their mother living in the home with them. And 42% reported that their father was not living in their home. 1/3 of the youths did not know their father's present occupation, and 2/3 of a sample of 150 Negroes did not know what the occupation of their father's father had been. And they don't know nothing about their father's side of the family. 40% of the youth said that they had brothers and sisters living in other communities. Another 40% reported relatives living in their home who were not parents, siblings, or grandparents. This is just sad, man. Failure of youth. Williams' account of Negro youth growing up with little knowledge of their families, of their fathers, less of their fathers' occupations, still less of the family occupation traditions, is in sharp contrast to the experience of a white child. White child to be like, oh yeah, my grandfather was a carpenter, my father was a carpenter, my great grandfather was a carpenter, now I'm going into carpentry or electric. Like these people carry on family legacy because of skilled trade that they pass on. They're not concerned about whether the job market goes up and down because they have hand skills that are always in demand, and regardless of what's going on with the fluctuations of the market. The white family, despite many variants, and that also is true for many Hispanic families, Mexicans, Guatemalans, Hondurans, El Salvadorians. They have a lot of, they teach a lot of skills to their children. The white family, despite many variants, remains a powerful agency not only for transmitting property from one generation to the next, but also for transmitting no less valuable contracts with the world of education and work. In an earlier age, carpenters, wainwrights, weavers, mercers, farmers, smiths acquired their names as well as their trades from their fathers and grandfathers. Facts. Children today still learn the patterns of work from their fathers, even though they may no longer go into the same jobs. White children without fathers at least perceive all about the pattern of men working. Word, at least it's a bunch of men around them working all the time, even if their personal dad might not be there, because there's still so many men in their community. Negro children without fathers flounder and fail. Not always, to be sure. The Negro community produces its share, very possibly more than its share, of young people who have something extra that carries them over the worst obstacles. But such persons are always a minority. The common run of young people in a group facing serious obstacles to success do not succeed. The Negro community produces its share, very possibly more than its share, of young people who have something extra that carries them. They got that sauce, they got that swag, they got that gumption, they got that I'm not going to give up, they got that fire in their belly from where they come from. But that's the minority. But such persons are always a minority. The common run of young people in a group facing serious obstacles to success do not succeed. Again, the common run of young people in a group facing serious obstacles to success do not succeed. A prime index of disadvantage in Negro youth in the United States is their consistently poor performance on the mental tests that are a standard means of measuring ability and performance in the present generation. There is absolutely no question of any genetic differential. Intelligence potential is distributed among Negro infants in the same proportion and pattern as among Icelanders or Chinese or any other group. American society, however, impairs the Negro potential. American society, however, impairs the Negro potential. The statement of Haru report that there is no basic disagreement over the fact that the Central Harlem students are performing poorly in school may be taken as true of Negro slum children throughout the United States. By the 8th grade, Central Harlem pupils' average IQ was 87.7 compared to the national norm of 100. They just not getting the same quality of education, man. Jesus. So New York City was right here. So that's not too bad. But New York City is everybody mixed together, all the kids from all the neighborhoods. Central Harlem. Dang. And you know, 3rd grade, that's when they start figuring out when they go and make jails, how many jails they need. So it's crazy. Take a quick break, gang. We'll be right back at it like we never left.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Fair use.
At the skies, the blue, and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Crazy. We're going to continue on. 8th grade children in Central Harlem have a median IQ of 87.7, which means that perhaps a third of the children are scoring at levels perilously near to those of retardation. God. 8th grade children in Central Harlem have a median IQ of 87.7, which means that perhaps a third of the children are scoring at levels perilously near to those of retardation. Are you confused as to what's going on? Because this is crazy. IQ declines in the first decade of life, rising only slightly thereafter. The effect of broken families on the performance of Negro youth has not been extensively measured, but studies that have been made show an unmistakable influence. Martin Deutsch and Bert Brown, investigating intelligence test differences between Negro and white 1st and 5th graders of different social classes, found that there is a direct relationship between social class and IQ. As the one rises, so does the other, but more for whites than Negroes. This is surely a result of housing segregation, referred to earlier, which makes it difficult for middle-class Negroes to escape the slums. Yeah, it might be difficult for them to escape the slums, but is it difficult for Negroes to come out on Saturday morning and sweep the slums up? Is it difficult to start a recycling program? I'm just saying, is it difficult to start a paint program? We're going to paint the fences today. We're going to paint the buildings today. We're going to talk to the people and get them to participate. We're going to give out some juices, some cookies, some Gatorades. I'm just saying. The authors explain that it is much more difficult for the Negro to attain identical middle or upper class status with whites, and the social class gradations are less marked for Negroes because Negro life in a caste society is considerably more homogeneous than life for the majority group. Therefore, the authors look for background, variables, and other social class, which might explain the difference. One of the most striking differences between the Negro and white groups is the consistently higher frequency of broken homes and resulting family disorganization in the Negro group. I'm gonna leave it there for today, gang. Thank you for pulling up.
Thank you for coming. I'll see you in hell.
Thank you for coming, gang. Peace and love. We'll be right back at it ASAP.